Let's get started here with the WTA side. And we have Andreescu. Great outright there last week on the Rogers Cup from James on Andreescu, 33-1, a winner. I was very happy that Serena Williams withdrew from that final. I don't know how she arrived there, but this is another story. But Andreescu, born Romanian, playing for Canada, made me very happy to see her winning that Masters title. She's not playing the Cincinnati Open, so we have Ashley Barty, huge favorite, not huge favorite, favorites to win this competition at 8.0. Naomi Osaka at 8.0. Simona Halep 8.5. Karolina Pliskova at 9. Serena Williams at 9. So I don't know if there's any value bet on this part of the world, but maybe James will give us, or you, Snize, will give us another excellent set of odds for this week. So let's get started here. Snize, what is your approach, mate?
So yeah, we are here in Cincinnati, or the Western and Southern Open. We play on quick DecoTurf 2 hard courts here that have slowed down considerably with the years, but should, in theory, serve the big service and big hits well, since it's quite hot and humid here, making the ball travel. We have Novak Djokovic and Kiki Bertens, the reigning champions here. But with the US Open coming very soon, only 2 weeks away, there is some caution you have to proceed with here in the tournament. So for the women's, looking at the draw, we can see that Andreescu, as you mentioned, withdrew. Serena Williams is still in, even though she retired in the Toronto final with back spasms. We don't know her fitness. Simona Halep is another player who retired in her last match. We don't know about her fitness. So there are a lot of questions about the top players here. But I do have an outright that I like in this tournament here, and that's Naomi Osaka, the Japanese player, former world number 1. She looked really relieved and refreshed in Toronto, and she's been struggling for quite some time. She recently released an open letter addressing these issues and how she's worked hard and just had some time off to reflect on herself, on her tennis, and to find a joy in it again. And it certainly looks the part. And last year's US Open champion is definitely a player to be feared when she is on form. She has a pretty good draw. Obviously, she has Elina Svitolina and Serena Williams in her quarter. But I don't think, and I've said this many times, I don't think Svitolina has been any good since her knee injury. She's still struggling for her best tennis, while obviously we don't know Serena Williams' fitness. US Open, her home slam, only 2 weeks away. How will she proceed here? So definitely like Naomi Osaka to come through there, and I bet her this weekend at 9 times the money to win when the market opens again. I don't have it at the moment, but she should be thereabouts since she hasn't played yet. So definitely the one I'm going for.
You said former number 1, but I think that she's actual number 1 since Monday. She's back to number 1 after the Rogers Cup, despite not winning the competition or something. But many players dropped a lot of points there, and so she's back at number 1 there at 9.0. Beautiful odds on Naomi Osaka, which I think that without her ex former coach, she will continue to struggle, if you ask me. But maybe it's time for her to bounce back and to return to winning ways. How about you, James? Another 33-1?
We can all hope. So I think this one, it's kind of similar to last week in my eyes, in that, again, it's a very open draw. I took Andreescu on a chance, as I said, that she would play her best tennis. She kind of did. I mean, she was very lucky, obviously, in places. You have to get a lot of luck to win these tournaments, certainly in the final. But yeah, I think this week I had more difficulty finding players that I was interested in at all, really, to be honest. I think Bencic Bencic was someone that I was interested in. I mean, I know Snize, you were interested in her last week. I actually thought she was fine, apart from her last match where she was pretty dismal. In general, I think her level seems to be increasing, but of course she's lost in the first round here by retirement, so kind of saved some money on that one. But when I looked at the draw for this originally, the first thing I noticed is that, at least in my thinking about this, the top half seems probably like the place to avoid, and I would be happier taking an outright in the bottom half. I'm not sure how I feel about Osaka, personally. I thought she was fine last week, although I'm not sure how well I feel she played against Serena. Of course, it's always difficult. I think she probably out-rallied Serena and struggled. Serena struggled from the baseline, but was very solid on serve. So that's kind of typical. But certainly, I think the bottom half of the draw looks weaker. I think that looks like the place to go if you're wanting to find a longer odds tip, especially with Halep, as you say, retiring last week. That's quite a big opener there. I can't imagine that they're going to be putting their 100% in this close to the slam. Maybe they will, but especially someone like Halep, I feel like she has to set her sights on the US. She's kind of just won Wimbledon. It comes around so fast that you have to prioritize. Now, I think I'm going to skip this week on the outrights. There were a few that, to me, made some sense. And I think the problem I had was that my instinct didn't take me the same way it did with Andreescu. I'm not sure if there's someone who I think has the higher level or at the minute, but there were a couple of people who I thought looked potential. Obviously, you have last year's champion, you have Bertens, who hasn't looked particularly strong to me, but is a decent price at 26. There's some potential in that one, again, in the weaker half behind that. And then Vekic, again, I thought was someone who potentially, I feel like she's been playing well. I've seen her 2 or 3 matches recently, and she's been playing well. So those were two that I thought I kind of half caught my eye. But the main advice I would have if people were looking to bet on this, I feel more comfortable betting in the bottom half if you're going to take a longer odds player. From the top of the market, I know Barty wasn't very good last week, but she seems to have been quite a model of consistency this year as a whole. So I'm not sure that I'd want to be directly opposing her personally, again. And then Pliskova. Difficult because, again, these number 3 in the world, these players are surely going to be thinking about the US at this point again. But I thought, apart from in defeat to Andreescu, where she got bageled in the first set, which was very bad, I thought in general she was pretty solid last week, and these quicker conditions should suit Pliskova pretty well. So I was less inclined to get involved in those in the top of the draw. And yeah, I think the bottom half is
huge surprises already. Wozniacki out from with a defeat against Yastremska. Kerber out. Kontaveit pulled off the upset there. Bertens is playing now with Venus Williams. I really think that next season, I have a feeling that next season, all the young guns that are now on the tour, on the WTA tour, will start to beat the hell out of this Wozniacki, Kerber, and Venus Williams, Serena Williams, and so on. Pliskova and so on. I think that players like Yastremska, like Bencic, like Andreescu will come from behind and take the WTA on their side, you know. I think that probably Simona Halep with her chill, let's say, because after she said that she wants to have a chill year, you know. So she had a chill year and she won the Wimbledon. I think that she will be the only one at that top level with these young players that are playing better and better, hitting the ball more powerful with every time that they're playing a match. So this is my feeling, but let's wait and see. Do you have, Snize, any favorite plays for this WTA side on the Cincinnati Open? You can also give from now, if you want. Some matches are starting in 20 minutes. Jabeur versus Jennifer Brady, and I really like this Jennifer Brady for an AKA, if you ask me, at 1.52. I really loved her last week against Halep. Madison Keys versus Muguruza, Wang versus Sieg, Tsurenko Puig, and Strichova Kasatkina. I know that you already wrote an article for us over to oddsmarket.com for tomorrow's matches, and I'm sure that many people will follow you there. Also, James wrote a treble article that is already up on the site, so be sure to check that out because last week he won his treble bet, so it's time for this week for him to shine again after that beautiful run over the Rogers Cup. Thank you, Natalie, for joining us on chat. So Natalie is watching us from the shadow. Be sure what you're saying there. So Snize, do you have any favorite plays, top plays that you love for the women's side?
Yeah, and the plays I have that have caught my eye both go off tomorrow. So moving on to tomorrow, we have a matchup which I've already written an article about this match, but the price is still around, so I'm going to give it out here also, and it's Yulia Putintseva versus Sloane Stephens. So I was on Putintseva in her match versus Jelena Ostapenko. I said that she had been quite consistent. She has a lot of variety to her game, and that Ostapenko, a big hitter who is desperately struggling for form right now, would lose that match, which she did. And right now she takes on another big hitter in Sloane Stephens. And the American hasn't really been quite right for quite some time now. Even now when we're returning to the North American hard courts, which should be her hunting ground, she hasn't looked good. She's on a 3-match losing streak right now. Out of those 3 losses, the last 2 have been as significant favorite to Rebecca Peterson, ranked 73 in the world, and Marie Bouzkova, ranked 53 in the world. And both of these losses were pretty alarming, as Sloane just shown to be nowhere near her best level. She won less than 50% of her total service points in those matches, which is quite a concern, as she has a powerful serve, powerful ground strokes, good defensive player. So I don't know, she's just looked disinterested at times playing tennis. And she's already lost a lot of points. She was defending finalist points in Toronto, Montreal, the Rogers Cup. And she's simply shown no improvement. Putintseva has already won the last 2 matches versus Sloane in Nuremberg last year and Sydney earlier this year. She's a fighter. She never gives in, and right now we can get her at 2.30. So her money line would be my recommended bet there. As for the other bet, it's also an underdog, and it's going to be on the Chinese player Sai Sheng to win versus Arina Sabalenka at 2.95. She plays a very shrewd game, the Chinese. She is a massive frustration to her opponents. She plays a lot of loopy balls. She runs pretty much every ball down. She has a lot of variety to her game, coming forward to the net, using her experience from doubles play. Maria Sakkari and Arina Sabalenka were both victimized to this in San Jose a few weeks ago. Sakkari was quoting saying, "This isn't tennis," just throwing her arms up and down, incredibly frustrated in that match. And Sabalenka was as well. Had some fun interactions with their coaches there. Sheng won the title in that tournament, and she is now revitalized after an early exit in Toronto, where now she's back here. She beat Kuzmova in straight sets. And Sabalenka is a player that has an enormous amount of power. but she's vulnerable if you can get her moving off the baseline and get her off her strike zone. And that's what Sheng has been able to do in these head-to-head matchups. She's won both of them, including that one just a few days ago. So at this price, I'm going to have to go with her again to frustrate Sabalenka, to move her around, get into her head, and get the win.
Yeah, if the mentality of a player is questionable, you can always go for an underdog, and such an underdog like Siech, who can frustrate players, like you said, can offer some great value. Don07 says, I like Halep. She's fine, but her nose is out of shape. We're not talking about looks here, but I can talk with the boys to do a special show to give our top 10 favorite players on how they look. If you want that, and if that will bring you here to watch our shows, we can do that for you. He loves the looks of Natalie. Yes, Natalie is beautiful. She's the most beautiful host in the industry, and not only that.
Oh, Alex,
so
come on, you're
let's
beautiful,
continue. What you said? Sorry.
Come on, you're beautiful as well, Alex. Come on, it's got to be comparable.
Yeah, thank you. I'm talking about on the women on the WTA side. So yeah, thank you, James. No homo here, guys. Don't worry about that.
No homo.
Go on, James. Give us your favorite plays for the women's side, please.
Okay, so the first play is from the treble, which is Georges against Kenin, and in the treble I took Georges plus 3.5 games for a couple of reasons. I mean, I know it's the women's side, but to get that handicap seems strange to me on a match that's pretty even, because of course if she wins a set and then doesn't lose dominantly, it's quite likely that comes in. But it really is the same logic as last week, where I tipped Andreescu to beat Kenin as a slight underdog. It's kind of the same logic. Georges is a very good underdog historically. She's not been as good this year, although I would argue that she's been slightly unfortunate with some key points, some key kind of sequences in sets. Losing, for example, 7-6, 7-6 against Halep. So she's had 6 matches as the underdog this year, and only won 2 of them. So you would have lost money betting on her. But actually, she's covered the handicap in 4 of the 6, which means you would have netted a decent profit if you were to take plus 3.5 games at the available price now, which is 1.85 with Pinnacle. When these two played at the end of last year, Kenin won that in 3 sets, actually as the underdog on that day, and probably good value on the day. But she lost the second set 6-2, and so the handicap came in comfortably. And I think there's a couple of key points here. This is quicker courts, as Snize pointed out. In theory, getting slower, although if you look at the stats, I don't think it really bears it out. So I'm a little bit mixed on that. The whole percentages are pretty consistent the last 3 years. And so Georges is 5'11", Kenin's I think 5'7". So they're neither of them are small, but Georges is actively tall and a very power-orientated player. That might backfire in Cincinnati in the sense that it sometimes means that people can't control the ball, but she has actually got a decent record here. She's played well here in the past, where I think she beat Radwanska and Svitolina in the same week when they were ranked 10 and 5 in the world. So she's played well on these courts in the past. She's also, so last week she played Bencic at a very similar price, lost that match, but she covered the handicap fairly comfortably. And again, from what I've seen of her recently, she's kind of struggling to keep her belief and momentum up at the key points, but she's playing very solid matches. Her game is so aggressive and so powerful that she can kind of hit most players off the court. If she has even just one decent set, she may well cover the handicap just from that. And of course, in the quicker conditions, someone like Kenin, who's a bit smaller, her game is based on variety more so than power, although she's a well-rounded player. She might struggle. She hasn't played that well here in the past. And it's the kind of situation where I would expect it to be tight. I probably would expect Canning to win in the end because the form is very much with her, the momentum's with her. But I think it'll probably be a struggle. So that's the first one. The second one that I considered, and I mean, I'll have a play with it. I'll have a go with it. I'm not as sure with this one, but I think I'll have a go with it. Is actually the match you were talking about with Halep. Is Alexandrova. So there's a few basic points here. Alexandrova is not someone who I would necessarily tend to expect to do that well against someone like Halep. She's never really done that much against top 10 opponents. But of course, after the retirement last week, you've got to think that she's likely to be vulnerable. Alexandrova looked very strong in the opening round of this tournament against Suarez Navarro. And she looked very strong, I would argue, last week in Toronto, where in the end, she lost to Serena in straight sets, but she led by a break in the first set. I think maybe in the second set as well, although I can't remember. But I thought she looked very solid. And again, these kind of conditions, I don't think that they're going to be... I think they're probably going to suit her relatively well, would be my feeling. And if she catches Halep cold in this opening round, then I think she could well go quite well. I didn't think Halep was very good at all really last week, and obviously then she retired. So I think you could take a chance
She
on her.
declared,
She's 3.8
sorry, James. She declared today that she's feeling good, that she doesn't have any problems. But I still think that you remember last week how we went +5 on the Asian handicap against Halep. I think that +4.5 against that 1.83 looks a good set of odds against Halep.
Cool, yeah. So should we go? I think we can go with that one. It's not a match I was that sure of either way, given the uncertainty with Halep. So I'm happy to go with that. Yeah, the +4.5 at 1.8. I think that's sensible.
Okay, who are the hottest women's on the tour? I have a top, not a top exactly. I will not say 1, 2, 3, 4, but I really love the looks of Camila Giorgi, for example. I really love the looks of Sloane Stephens. I really like Sorana Cârstea or Mandy Minella a little bit. Yeah, this kind of four. What about you guys? Let's answer all of us to the same question. Snize.
For me, it's definitely a player that's quite recently broke into the top 100, a player that many aren't really talking about that much, and it's Paula Badosa Gibert, the Spaniard. She's absolutely gorgeous. Definitely my favorite WTA player when it comes to that department.
Yeah, your type. James?
I have no idea. I mean, I think I will have to be very careful. Halep. Interesting choice from you. I have no idea.
She's not bad. She's not bad. She's cute. I can take that. She's not bad at all. She has a nice smile. She's cute. I would not put her on the top 5, but yeah, she can make the top 10.
Okay, cool.
Any thoughts on Wang versus Xie? James Ross is asking us. Any of you guys have any thoughts on this match? Maybe it's nice.
So I originally looked at this match. There were some injured concerns there with Qiang Wang, which put me off it in the end. It should be a really close matchup. Both of these players don't really rely on power, have quite underwhelming serves and ground strokes in general. So they rely on variety, movement, and overall craft to beguile their opponents. So it should be a return-dominated matchup. It's correctly priced as a pick'em. I really have no idea how it goes. I think right now, on current form, I would probably lean a bit towards Sue Shea, who I think has played pretty decently over the last few weeks here. But yeah, it's going to be close. But I would probably have to go Shea. She's won the last 2 matches as well, so Shea for me there.
Okay, do you have any thoughts on Barty versus Sharapova tomorrow? Do you think that Barty it's a very good pick for a treble bet, for a Naka bet.
Yeah, I think she is. I mean, she didn't look that great last week, admittedly, but been, as James said earlier, one of the most consistent forces. Sharapova survived by the skin of her teeth. She was extremely nervous towards the end of the risk match and just barely crawled over the line. She double faulted several times on key points, on match points, almost threw it away actually. And she's still, searching for her best tennis, searching for her top confidence. Barty is a much better player than Sharapova is right now. So I would definitely think that Barty gets over these recent losses here and goes to work and gets the win.
Yeah, I would.
Okay,
I would
that's
agree.
it for the story. James, go on.
No, I think that's right. I think the only worry that I would have is the point that we keep making about the top players being obviously biased towards the slams, but Barty didn't do anything last week. So I would assume that she'd want to play at least a couple of matches, get herself into it, test herself a little bit, and then maybe relax a little bit more.